of all the Xbox One launch games coming from Microsoft, Ryse is probably the one that we had the most question marks over. Not necessarily over visual quality, because Crytek always deliver that. But this is also a very new genre for them, third-person action.
Yeah,
Are they going to be able to pull it off?
I think there was the worry is basically with Crytek is they are a wonderful, wonderful studio. You know, they make some amazing engines, but their games always seem to just lack something. And you look at Ryse, and you're like, okay, this visually looks amazing. After the initial reveal, it was so quick time event heavy that we really did have doubts going into it. And to be honest, I think we've a lot more positive than we ever imagined we were going to be coming out of this. You know,
Absolutely. I mean, as with a lot of things that happened after the announcement of the Xbox One, feedback from the community was being listened to, and Ryse is another one of these things that's really benefited from that. QTEs, while still present in the game, are really dialed back. As you can see here, it's just a simple flashing colour to indicate the button to press, and it's only for kill moves, it's not for the moment-to-moment combat. So you can actually just ignore it. You're the one choosing to trigger these QTE kills, slightly flashier finishing moves.
I think it's a tough one with Ryse because there isn't at the core of it. There is a good game, you know, like the story is fairly interesting. It's this really sort of grandiose version of history, and it's quite fun to follow along. Some questionable choices about some of the villain characters, but that's fine, you know, it's fine. The combat itself, however, feels, in my eyes, almost like a tech demo that's maybe been stretched too far. Like, it feels fun, but it is very repetitive. The combat is very, very repetitive, and once aside from some, varying enemy types that force you to mix up your style, you've pretty much seen everything after the first hour, I guess.
Yeah. I think a lot of people compared it to the combat system that we would have seen in the original Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And that's a system that's evolved over time, it's improved. But for that original game, it was a little bit slower, a little bit more pedestrian. It demanded that you play this sort of parry system, which wasn't to everyone's taste. Some people quite enjoyed it. And the parry stuff has still remained. Ryse does much the same. It's inviting you to be aggressive at times, but really what it's asking you to do is wait for the enemy to come after you, parry, combo, and sort of gradually take out enemies one at a time, kind of being able to deal with a crowd as a single soldier. So it feels kind of realistic in that way, but it can become a little bit repetitive and dull as a result.
I think the Assassin's Creed comparison is well, there's a well-founded argument there, and again, I think something that stops Ryse from ascending to greatness is, post Arkham Asylum, you really expect these sort of third-person brawlers to be a little bit more fluid.
Yeah.
I think that's my major takeaway from Ryse is just it really does. It's got some foundation, and I just feel like if they weren't pushing this for launch, they probably could have got quite a good, solid, really good game out of this instead. But it's fine for a launch title. If you really want something to show off your new console and you've got your friends going around and you're like, hey, check out this Xbox One I've just bought, you're going to put Ryse on to just blow their minds with some amazing graphics.
It's a very deep story that goes, it's actually quite an interesting story, really, and it takes you to lots of interesting locations. It's not all set in Italy or in Rome, so that's quite cool. I think the other thing that's just going back to the combat momentarily, something I actually quite enjoyed about this was it doesn't fall down that trap of not having multiple enemies try to attack you at once, which we tend to complain about. It's like, why don't those thugs just all jump on Batman at the same time? It can happen in this game. You will be parrying one attack and almost instantly someone else will be jumping in on you, and you have to parry that one instead of going into your next combo. So that's quite good. It keeps you on your toes, it keeps you thinking. Actually offers a bit of a challenge, which is nice because we were fearing that Ryse wouldn't do that.
Yeah, totally. I think that was when, initial reveal again, going back to that, it's like that day that Microsoft will never escape, but it's just, at the time it didn't have a fail state. The game basically halted while it was waiting for you to do attacks, and they really have listened, and again, Ryse isn't going to blow your mind in ways that some of the other launch titles are doing, but for what it is, really honestly, I think it's worth giving a try. It's like, it'd be that game that people sort of talk about in a year perhaps. They're like, hey, do you remember Ryse? Like, it was pretty cool, wasn't it? And
it's definitely a game that as the Xbox One evolves, we're going to keep comparing other games to. Certainly action games, does it deliver the Ryse level of finesse? Does it deliver the spectacle of Ryse? Because those things are all present. What it maybe doesn't quite have yet, and what maybe hopefully future games will have, is just a little bit more fun, a bit more of the fun factor, and hopefully a bit more of the polish in the combat system, what we have come to expect from the likes of Batman and Assassin's Creed.
Totally. So Ryse with the X1 score is
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.